Make sure my sound straight. All right, my sound straight. So, as everybody knows, the Magic won the lottery. They get the number one pick in the 2022 NBA draft. In my opinion, a really stacked draft class. You could really improve your team. Um, in this draft, there's a lot of teams that are in need of their next guy. There's a lot of talent in here that can be that. Or if you're just a couple pieces away from being something special. So um, as far as the Magic go, me personally, um, they could they could take Chet, which is obviously like the consensus number one player. He has the shot blocking ability. He can shoot. He can handle the ball. He can pass. The main thing about him is just like the weight problem, like him bulking up. But I don't see it as much of a problem as some people do, because obviously he's gonna put weight on. Um, and he's really competitive. So like no matter what, he's gonna fight, bro. He's not just gonna like back down, even if you have a weight advantage on him. He's still gonna get his blocks because he's athletic. But I do not think the Magic take him, and here's why. They most likely won't bring back Mo Bamba, right? But they still have Wendell Carter Jr. and I think they'll play him at the center. And I think what the Magic are really lacking is somebody who can create their own shot. There's guys like Cole Anthony on the team. Um, they just drafted Jalen Suggs last year. Those are guys that play off of creating shots for others. Cole Anthony is probably their best shot creator, but I see him as more of a facilitator and somebody that'll really do something. Like whatever the team needs. Franz, he had a great rookie year last year, but I I don't think of him as a shot creator. He's more like off the catch. Somebody throwing the ball, he can shoot. He'll take like one dribble, somebody closing out, and he'll knock down a midi or get to the basket. I'm not saying he cannot create his own shot, but I don't see it being to the point where he'll be a 25 point per game scorer in the NBA, 23. And I feel like the Magic needs somebody like that. And in my opinion, the one person that I know that can create their own shot is Jabari Smith. And here's why I think that they take Jabari Smith also. They can slide Wendell down to the 5, and they can slide Jabari Smith into the 4. Even if they do lose or, not bring back Mo Bamba, then you have Jonathan Isaac. He'll be coming back. That's another big. They might put him at 3 when he comes back. So that would be really like a really big lineup. Even if you put Isaac at the 4, you put Jabari Smith at the 3. That's 3 guys that are 6'10", really lengthy, and they can Isaac and Wendell play defense. Jabari's not really known for his defense, the way he can create his own shot. I think that's a really solid lineup with, let's see, Cole Anthony, right? Jalen Suggs, Franz. Oh yeah, they have Franz too. He can play the 3. You can alternate, because obviously Jonathan Isaac isn't gonna be 100% to start the season. He's gonna have to work his way back into the rotation. So that's where Jabari Smith comes in. He plays the 4, and then Wendell plays the 5. And then depending on how they're feeling about Isaac, they can possibly move him too for some pieces. So I feel like they just have the most flexibility, and they can maximize the most by taking Jabari Smith instead of Chet. So that's how I'm gonna go number 1. All right, number 2, right? The Oklahoma City Thunder. Like I said, Chet is the consensus number 1 player. You don't let him slide past you, especially when you're like need, like you know, like the Thunder are for a big man. Look at their big man depth. It's not good. It's not good at all. Derek Favors, he has a player option. He just opted in. Um, He just opted in for this 10 mil. So he'll be there. I don't see him playing that much because, these guys are young. He doesn't fit the timeline that they're really going to be competing at. So we're going to slide Chet in at the center position. You're going to have Shea at the 1, right? Then you're going to have Lou Dort coming back. He's going to play 2. You're going to have Giddey at the 3. You're going to have Bazley at the 4. You're going to have Chet at the 5. But don't forget, the Thunder also have the 12th pick. So they're going to bring in another guy possibly to step into Bazley's role. Bazley's a great role player. He's showing potential, but I feel like he might be best off the bench for this team. And I just feel like they're going to take Chet. You can't pass up on him, too. Like, you need a center. He's the best player in the draft. You're going to take him. All right, so number 3, the Houston Rockets. Another easy pick, right? Their depth chart is terrible on this website. I don't know what's going on. The depth chart is absolutely trash. I'm guessing this is the end of the season depth chart. But anyways, Kevin Porter Jr. is going to be their point guard. Jalen Green is going to be their shooting guard. So that leaves those 2 roles locked up. They also have John Wall, who has, they have the flexibility to move him, trade him, buy him out. He's not going to be a Rocket next year. He's not going to play for Rockets. He didn't play for them last year. He's not going to play for them this year. So they can possibly get something for John Wall. Christian Wood, he is on, he's not a free agent this summer, but next summer he's a free agent, right? But they also might decide to move him. They can, but I think they'll keep him for another year. Let Sengun develop for another year off the bench. And then next year he'll be ready to step in as an NBA starter, I think. So your lineup will be Kevin Porter at the 1, Jalen Green at the 2, Jason Tate at the 3, Paulo at the 4. I feel like they're gonna alternate. I'm not gonna give him or Jason Tate really a true position because they can kind of alternate. 3-4, and then Christian Wood at the 5. There's no reason why they would pass up on Paulo. He's, the top 3 are the top 3. I don't see those top 3 changing at all. I don't think they're gonna, maybe the Magic will take Chet, but the top 3 is gonna be the top 3. We know who the best 3 players in the draft are. So for the Kings, right? The Kings are an interesting team because they really got slandered for trading Tyrese Halliburton. Don't get me wrong, he's a great player. Phenomenal. He blew my mind in terms of what I thought he was gonna be in the NBA. I didn't think he was gonna be that great. I knew he was gonna be a solid player, but I just didn't think he would turn out to be as good as he has. He had a great end of the year for the Pacers, and they let him go. But they got in return an all-star and Sabonis. And this is why I don't see them as completely crazy, because now they get Jaden Ivey with their 4th pick. He can slide right into that shooting guard role. He's not gonna be as good of a shooter as Halliburton was. He's not gonna be as good as a facilitator, but they don't need him to facilitate. Jaden Ivey is gonna be an athlete for them. He's gonna get to the basket. He's gonna draw fouls. He's gonna be able to create his shot. Eventually he'll develop a jumper. But I just feel like Jaden Ivey just fits in for this team perfectly. He's not a point guard, and I feel like that's kind of the dilemma that the Kings are having, because at some point in time they were gonna have to choose. People didn't realize that they were gonna have to choose no matter what, because Halliburton could lead the team at point guard, so can De'Aaron Fox, right? They just made their choice earlier than people expected them to, and they ended up trading a younger guy. But now they get a true shooting guard, because Ivy's not a point guard at all. He doesn't really have a vision like that. He's a capable passer, but he's not, he's not like a Tyrese Halliburton. So the starting lineup is gonna be De'Aaron Fox, Jaden Ivey, Harrison Barnes, Sabonis, and probably Rashawn Holmes. That's a decent lineup. Um, in terms of, it's like a good mix of like veteran and like young. You still have Davion Mitchell off the bench. Like the team is solid. I'm not gonna slander them for what they like the move that they made. I feel like there's a lot more moves for them. They have cap space, so it's gonna be interesting. We'll talk. We'll talk. I'm gonna talk more about the cap space situations of teams in another mock draft that I do, because this isn't gonna be the only mock draft I'll do. But yeah, they'll take Jaden Ivey there. Next up, the Detroit Pistons. Right, the unluckiest the unluckiest team. Right, they missed out on four of the top prospects. I know a lot of Pistons fans, they wanted Paulo, they wanted Chet. Um, I mean, honestly, they would have took any of those four, but now I don't think they'll get any of them. They got unlucky. They really got unlucky, and it sucks for them. But they'll still make it happen. I just feel like they're just less fortunate than than they should be, especially being Detroit. Like, it's not a free agent destination. Nobody's really gonna want to go there, so they have to build a solid team out of the draft or trade. Um, but yeah, I feel like Cade is gonna be their point guard. Um, so they'll probably get somebody who can play off of Cade. There's a lot of options here. There's Shaden Sharp, the prospect. Probably the most interesting prospect in this draft. Um, they have Adrian Griffin Jr. He's like a 3-and-D. Reminds me of like Jimmy Butler. He can create his own side, play both ends. He might fit that. He might fit that Detroit mode. They might say, oh, we want this like hard-nosed player. Johnny Davis is there. Benedict is there. Like, they have options for like their shooting guard position, which I feel like they'll do, because I'm not a big fan of Killian Hayes. He's a good facilitator, good vision, but he didn't turn out to be what they thought he was gonna be. So put Kate at the 1, let him run our team. At the 2, I do believe they take Shaden Sharp, just based off of their potential. You need to take a risk, like, for a team like the Detroit Pistons, to try to get somebody who's gonna grow into a star. They know they're not gonna attract stars. They know they're not gonna do that. They have to be able to trade for. They have to be able to have assets to trade for a star. They don't have any. So yeah, they take the highest upside player, with the most potential. He's young, He's really supposed to be going into college this year. They take Shaden Sharp. Point guard Cade, Sharp at the 2, Bay at the 3. Jeremy Grant, he's not coming back next year, but they can sign and trade him for assets. I don't know exactly what they'll get back for him. They can get a decent amount for him, honestly. Depending on the team, they might be willing to pay for him. And then you have Isaiah Stewart at center. So it's not a terrible roster. They still have a lot of work to do. Obviously, they're gonna have so much cap, but like I said again, like, nobody's really gonna go to Detroit unless you're like somebody that's good, that they're willing to overpay for. That's the scenario I see where somebody goes to the Pistons, but they're never gonna attract a superstar. That's just plain and simple. So now, the Indiana Pacers, right? A team that is going to make a lot of moves this offseason. I truly don't think this roster is gonna look anywhere like it looks right now, because look at this depth, right? You have to be able to, like, have depth to compete, and I do not like their roster at all. right? But they have assets they can get rid of. They have Brogdon, which is probably gonna be on the trade block because they have Tyrese Halliburton. They acquired Buddy Hield. I think they'll keep him, but I wouldn't. I don't think they're opposed to trading him. I don't think they're too attached to him. He will fit the team nicely. He's a capable scorer. He can shoot the lights out, but they're not too attached to him. They have Chris Duarte they drafted last year. He was good. On and off the court with injury. T.J. Warren hasn't played in a year, but I believe he still has a little value. You could probably package him up with Brogdon, get you another solid piece back. But really, realistically, they need to be looking for some depth on this Pacers team, and they also need to be looking for a power forward. Miles Turner, I think Miles Turner and Tyrese Halliburton are probably the only two untouchable people on this team at this point. So they're gonna build around them. Like I said, Brogdon, T.J. Warren are most likely gonna get traded. They have cap space. Indiana's not super appealing, but they can get depth and all. I don't think that they'll pursue a star, but I do think they'll try to get some depth. But I believe that they'll take Keegan Murray here. Great scorer, Somebody I think him, Tyrese, and Miles Turner is a good start to a team, I believe. You just put players around them, put some vets around them, put some depth around them, and then you're good. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do in the offseason. Now, next up, we have the Trailblazers at 7. The Trailblazers are another team that have options to what they want to do in this offseason. Obviously, they're trying to keep Dame. Obviously, they're trying to keep Dame. And Dame says he doesn't want to go anywhere. Odd. But, yeah, I don't know. Also, I think that they don't bring back Nurkic. They have to bring Simons back. He's restricted, I think. Yeah, he's restricted. He's gonna get offers, but I think that they'll just outright pay him. Just based off of they trade CJ, he plays extremely well when Dame was out last year, and I think he can keep it up. So they're gonna pay Simons, unless they sign and trade him for one of these stars. I hate to say it as a Bulls fan. Levine, they might try to get Levine. They might try to get, Bradley Beal. So, it'll be interesting to see what they do with Simons. But most likely scenario is that they'll just re-sign him. They'll throw him money. And they won't bring back Nurkic. And that, in the case that they don't bring back Nurkic, that leaves a hole at center. Josh Hart played extremely well last year. Trenton Watford played well last year. They have good guard depth, right? They'll have Joe Ingles coming back from injury next year. Who else? They had I'm missing somebody. They had another decent center step in last year, like a big man, but besides the point, he won't be like a real rotation player. So they'll keep Winslow. He played decent. They have decent pieces. They have solid pieces. And I just feel like they're not gonna bring back Nurkic. So in the case that they don't bring back Nurkic, you take the best big man on the board. A loud threat, a shot blocker. You take Jalen Duren. Who's next? Alright, the Pelicans. I was secretly rooting for the Pelicans, right? Secretly rooting for the Pelicans to somehow sneak into that top 3, maybe even top 5, because this team is really dangerous. They're really dangerous, and they're a piece or two away from becoming Can I say a contender? I'll say a good playoff competitor. Um, but obviously, point guard situation. Jose Alvarado, he played really well. I think he's best off the bench to provide that spark. Devontae Graham, I'm 50-50 on him. I'm not a huge fan of Graham, and honestly, if I'm them, I trade him. I trade Devontae Graham. Um, so maybe you slide CJ at the one. He could facilitate, get his own shot off. Um, they are missing Herb Jones on here. Oh, never mind. He's at the four. Okay, so yeah, they still have Herbert Jones backing up Zion for when he comes back next year, or he can back up Brandon Ingram. In my opinion, already one of the best defenders in the league. Super underrated. Um, he's a competitor, and we saw that last year, or we saw that this year in the playoffs when they played the Suns. Jonas Valanciunas, he's a great center. Like, they have four great pieces starting lineup. They just have to figure out who they're gonna slide in. I feel like they could go point guard. Um, Obviously, this team isn't really great defensively. So, who's the best defensive guard in the draft? Dyson Daniels. He could facilitate. I feel like he would really, really fit well, extremely well on this Pelicans team. Or they can just say, fuck it, we're going to outscore you. They can go Benedict, they can go Johnny Davis. Or there's another option with AJ Griffin if they decide to play CJ at the one, AJ Griffin at the two. But if I'm the Pelicans, like, I would really just go Dyson Daniels. They have, you know, their defending guards. They have the wing guard. The wing defender with Herbert Jones. Like, you need defenders. So I take Dyson Daniels if I'm the Pelicans. Um, Number 9, the Spurs. The Spurs are an interesting team because they're never really bad to me. And another thing to consider, they have a lot of cap space this year. If I'm not mistaken, they have the most cap space. So their flexibility is, extremely strong. Lonnie Walker, they can decide not to bring him back. They can say, like, yo, we're going to replace you with another shooting guard. Another team that can try to get Levine, another team that can try to get Beal. I just don't know if it's an attractive enough place to be for those players. So I don't think that they should depend on them getting a splash in the offseason. But they have a solid core, especially the wings. Josh Richardson is a great 3-and-D player. Lonnie Walker, he can get his shot. Restricted, like I said, I don't know if they'll bring him back. Devin Vassell, great player. Keldon Johnson, great young player. They have great, good young wings, and this center, power forward position it's really bad. Zach Collins, they stole him while he was hurt, and they just kind of banked it on him that he was gonna be solid when he came back, which he kind of wasn't. He took a little bit to get to where he was, and even when he did get to where he was, it wasn't that good. Jakob Poeltl, he's a great rim protector. Great rim protector. He's gonna stay at center unless they decide to trade him, which they might. I hope they do, because I'm a big Jakob Poeltl fan. But besides the point, yeah, I think they just need a power forward, like a kind of bigger body. They also, lack backup point guard depth. So at this spot, they were probably really, really wishing to get Jalen Duren with that, that last pick, but they stole him right before, right? So they might reach. I think they can go for Jeremy Sochan, which it looks low. It looks like a low spot on this board. But I also think that Usman is pretty high. I don't think he'll go that high. So here I will take a Spurs pick, and I'll take Jeremy Sochan. It might be like, he's going kind of high. I'm sure there's a lot of people thinking that, but realistically, he's not going that high. He's a good player, and I feel like he's just like he can fit in the system. He'll be a good system player, and the Spurs like players like that. So it might not be the cutest pick. It might not be, oh yeah, like this guy, he's an appealing prospect. But that's not what the Spurs are about. We all know that. So they'll go ahead and do that. If they don't do that, then I don't really know what other option they have. They could go another scorer like Benny, AJ Griffin, but nah. I just think they'll get bigger. The Wizards, solid team. If they can bring Bradley Beal back, big if, a huge if, cause he claims he wants to be there, but do we believe him? He's unrestricted. He could say, "Fuck this, I'm out. Somebody else pay me more. I don't want to be in Washington no more." Even though they have, a decent core around, I'm not gonna say good. You know, glaring need at the point guard. Like what the fuck is this? What is this right here? But anyways, they have Bill. Denny Avdia played really well at the end of the year last year. Kristaps played well at the end of the year last year. Kuzma was hooping his mind out. Daniel Gafford, rim protector, Thomas Bryant. When Thomas Bryant came back last year, he was okay, but he wasn't like the Thomas Bryant we kind of expected. Corey Kispert, the shooter. So they need guards, and I just feel like even if Bradley Beal stays, they'll still need a guard, and they'll need somebody who can be like kind of versatile. So they'll probably take AJ Griffin here and be happy about it. All right, the Knicks. The Knicks are an interesting team, and I'll tell you why. They struggled last year, really bad. Like they sunk their expectations. They didn't make the playoffs. Like it was a disappointing season for Knicks fans. It really was. Kemba got benched. Like RJ had a great year. He broke out. They traded for Cam Reddish at the trade deadline. Evan Fournier had his games. Obi Toppin had his games. Julius Randle. It's like he got kind of slandered at a point, and he was in trade talks at the trade deadline, and he was saying like, "Oh, he said, if they want me here, I'm gonna be here." So he'll be there. He's locked up, obviously, but do they trade him? Mitchell Robinson, he's restricted. So it's like, I don't know about the Knicks. I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do. They're not really. You see, they're gonna have cap space. Especially with the whole Mitchell Robinson thing, they could decide to sign a trade. They could decide to trade Julius Randle. That frees up more cap space. They have assets to do so. Quickly. They had D-Rose. Whatever they decide to do with Kemba. Alec Burks played point guard a little bit. Like they have the guards. Cam Reddish was there. They can slide RJ down to the 3. They can slide Fournier down to the 3. So it's a flexible team. If I was a Knicks fan, I wouldn't be too hard on them because they have assets at least. It's not like a completely ass team where you just don't have anybody, to trade. anybody of value. You know, you have people of value. So, um, but as for the pick, um, I think that most likely I like I like Ochai here. But I also like Benedict here. I don't really think they need scoring so much. You know, like let's see, like Johnny Davis, he's another scorer, right? Um, which I don't know. I don't feel like the Knicks need scoring. RJ can score. Fournier, you know, he can score. Julius Randle can score. I really feel like they're gonna need a big, but I wouldn't be picky if I was the Knicks. I would just take best available, and best available player is Johnny Davis. All right, next back up. Back up is the Oklahoma City Thunder. Um, like I said, with the first time around they took Chad, that addresses their center situation. Um, you know, Giddy, he could have been in a rookie conversation last year. Probably would have run rookie of the year if he didn't get hurt. Um, you know, Woodrow was having a good year before he got hurt. Shea, he got hurt, came back, played well. Um, so, you know, I would take a power forward here, but the same thing. I would just take best available. You know, you could go Tari here, a defender. You know, you could put him at the four, let him be an athlete. But like, you already have Darius Baisley there that kind of basically does the same thing, right? I don't pass up on Benedict if he's here. Off the bench, he can be a spark. He can really come into himself. Um, and I just think that's a great place for him to go. Just based off of best available again at that point. Um, who else do we have? All right, the Hornets are up. This is probably the easiest pick of the draft, right? They have their pieces: Rozier, Ball, Oubre, Gordon Hayward. They're gonna bring back Miles Bridges. They're gonna pay him whatever he asks for. They're gonna bring back Miles Bridges. All right, they have their core players. They have their wing depth. You know, their guards. Book Knight's probably gonna be back up next year. He's gonna find his way into the rotation. But they really need a big. A big that I'm really high on. That I wish would fall to my Bulls. Mark Williams, easy pick. Loud threat, side blocker, big presence in the paint. Like he's gonna fit that team really well. And it's a no brainer for them. Super no brainer. So yeah, they're gonna take Mark Williams. All right. So now the Cavs are up. In my opinion, another no brainer, right? Because Colin Sexton, I feel like he's gonna get traded this offseason. If not, somebody else will sign him. Is he restricted this year? I'm not sure if this is accurate. I don't know if he's restricted this year. He really might be there because so was that 2018 draft. Yeah, so he is a free agent. They can sign and trade him for some more assets. Pair him with maybe Kevin Love. Because obviously they have the bigs. They have Mobley. They have Laurie. They have Jared Allen. They have their big situation is good. Garland stepped up when he wasn't playing well. They traded for LeVert, but you see it, I see it. They need wings. It's really a toss up to me between Ochai and Malachi. You know, Ochai is good catch and shoot. He's a good athlete. He's a good defender. He's a really good role player. I think he was one of the reasons why Kansas was really so good. Super, super underrated in my opinion. He showed a lot of potential, and I feel like I would lean towards him. But let's see. Laurie can shoot the ball. Curls, he's okay. LeVert, he might come off the bench. they'll bring back something for Colin, and then like I said, they can pair him up with Kevin Love. They can get something back. They can get a wing, and that'll free up some cap space for them too. But I just feel like they'll still bring a player in, and I'm gonna have to take Ochai here. Um, so next up again, the Hornets, lucky team. Like this, it makes me angry. It makes me angry that they have the cap space, like they have the draft capital, they have the players. Well, they're not gonna have the. I'm not gonna say they're gonna have the cap space because obviously they're gonna bring back Miles Bridges. That's gonna take hit in that cap. So I'm not gonna say they got the cap space, but they have the players. You know, they're gonna get their center, and they can do whatever the fuck they want with this pick. If I'm being honest, they really can do whatever they want. And I think they take the knockdown shooter. They take Malachi. Um, let's see his stats. Oh, they don't have his stats up here. But yeah, I think they take Malachi here. Knockdown shooter. Can fit well next to LaMelo, next to Gordon Hayward, Bridges, and Mark Williams. You know, he might not start immediately. They might just put Rozier there at the 2. Might put LaMelo there at the 2. Put Rozier at the 1. But you can never get you can never get enough of a shooter, right? All right, next up, the Atlanta Hawks. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if the Atlanta Hawks decided to trade this pick and package it with somebody to get, another big piece back. They have so much depth on this team. So much talent, so much depth. But they need stars. Trae Young is a star, yeah. I don't see them keeping this pick, honestly. I think they'll trade it. They can package it up with with the DeAndre Hunter, the Bogdan. They have a lot of flexibility. They can also let John Collins go. But I don't think they keep this pick. But if they happen to keep this pick, hmm, let's look at our options. Okay, so EJ Liddell, he would fit decent on this team. But I just feel like I said, DeAndre Hunter's there. Like anybody they get at this point in the draft, it's not gonna be better than somebody they already have sitting on their bench probably. You get what I'm saying? So it's like they very well can just trade this. But what do they need, right? The first thing I see is like Bogdan isn't really a great defender. Trae Young isn't a great defender. Hunter is. John Collins is a shot blocker, and Capella is a shot blocker and defender, right? Like, do you add another like wing defender? See, I would take Ty Ty Washington here, but I don't. Is he better than Sharif Cooper? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a weird predicament for them. And this is bad to do for my draft, but I'm not high on Usman like that, and I don't exactly know where he fits. So, for the sake of the Hawks trading up their pick, in my opinion, and not knowing where Usman fits in the first round, I'm gonna pair them together just for the sake of this mock draft. Sounds crazy, but I'm just gonna have to do that. But who's up now? The Rockets. So they took Paulo earlier in the draft, and I think that they possibly could go big here. If they feel like Kevin Porter isn't really a point guard, they want him as a student. They have a team option on him. They can be flexible with what they do. They signed Garrison Matthews, their shooter, last year. They have Kenyon Martin. it's an interesting team. I think that they'll keep building what they have. Dennis Schroeder's off the bench. What's his contract looking like, actually? Okay, so he's unrestricted. I don't think they'll bring him back. So they are gonna need like point guard depth. Um, I'm torn between who's better between Ty Washington and Kennedy Chandler. Obviously Ty went to the bigger school. Played on the bigger stage. But I think he shit himself in the tournament last year, and it was bad. It wasn't good at all. So I would lean towards Kennedy Chandler here. I would lean towards him here. I just think that's a better pick. He fits that team. He's a high flyer. He's exciting to watch. I just feel like he's the pick there. All right, now the Bulls are up. 18th pick. Team last year that had their core together until they got hurt. They were one of the best teams in the East. Lonzo got hurt. They have the guard depth heavy. I expect the Bulls to move on from Kobe White. Just that simple fact. They have Lonzo, they have Caruso, and they have Iota Sumo. They can all play guard, right? Then obviously shooting guard. You have Zach. He could not come back. Never know. But you also have Caruso backing him up. Io can back him up. They're interchangeable. You have the front court defending is what we're looking at right now, right? Patrick Williams, he plays great defense. He's more of a wing defender. He's playing like a small ball four. But in the East, it's not going to cut it. It's just not going to cut it. Vucevic, he's like a 6'10", offensive-minded player. So they're going to need somebody to protect the rim for them. And honestly, they could go Tari Eason, which would be another solid pick for them because he's he could develop into a 3-and-D player, but he's one of the best defenders in this draft. He can really be annoying if they wanted to with Lonzo's defense, with Caruso's defense, or Io's defense, or Patrick Williams' defense. They could be really annoying on the wings to pick up for like DeRozan and Zach Slack, but I feel like just the front court defense is glaring, and another great shot blocker. Walker Kessler, he fits in. He could back up Vooch if the Bulls need rim protection. They could slide Vooch to the 4. Walker has potential to shoot the ball eventually, so I just think that's the pick for them there. All right, so the Minnesota Timberwolves are up. Is Pat Bev? Okay, so they signed him for another year. D'Angelo Russell's free agent next year. Interesting team. Don't like their depth too much. Would it be D'Lo, Ant-Man, Taurean Prince, Vanderbilt, and Cat? Like, I don't know. I just don't like their depth, and I specifically don't like their defense. And you fix that. Somebody could slide in right away and play the 3. That can play defense, and that's Tari Eason. An athlete, him and Anthony Edwards would be fun to watch. I just feel like that's their best case scenario pick for the spot. They lucked out, and they got somebody who could really come in and, get done what they want to get done. Somebody they thought maybe like Jared Culver would have been, Josh Okogie would have been, but like better. So yeah. Alrighty, where we at now? Okay, Spurs are up again. I feel like this is an easy choice now because you kind of have your starters filled out, right? You have your wings. You know, you have your big. Um, but I just feel like they might go more big depth. They might go Nicola here. You could possibly go EJ. I don't really think they will, but it's really a toss up between Nicola and Ty Ty for me. Um, but like I said, I know how Coach Pop is, and I really think he'll go Nicola here. He's not necessarily a big man, but he's a big body. He's a Spurs type of player. Um, I really honestly feel like they'll take him. But I'm leaning towards Ty Ty just due to the fact that who would really okay, I forgot about Josh Primo. They're not gonna take Ty Ty, so I said they take Nicola here. Um, Up is the Nuggets. Unlucky team last year. Didn't get Jamal Murray for the whole year. Lost Michael Porter Jr. for the year. Jokic played his ass off, carried this team to the playoffs. So it's gonna be exciting to see what they do. Next year they have lots of guard depth. Lots of it. Stacked, honestly. With Jamal Murray, Monte Morris can play. Bones played well. You know, Compazzo, he can get minutes. Like, literally, all their guards can get minutes. Brent Forbes can shoot the lights out. He can get minutes. Austin Rivers plays minutes. Like, they're more than good. More than good at guard. Um, Will Barton can play the three. And everybody's locked up on a contract except for Brent Forbes. Campazzo is restricted, which they might just bring him back. Um, Cousins. Okay, so I feel like they would probably bring Cousins back. Um, the big man, the backup big man thing is kind of bad, but there's a lot of big men this offseason. I feel like they'll, try to get one for the vet minimum. Like I said, they might try to bring back Boogie, even though I think he brought his value up this year. He might get a better deal somewhere else. So, um, in terms of like somebody who I think fits well on his team, just a Nuggets type player, is EJ Liddell. He can score the ball. He can create his own shot. Not saying they need that, but it's good to have off the bench. It's always good to have somebody who can create their own shot off the bench. I'm not too familiar with Blake Wesley. Let's see real quick. Let's see. I just want to see some. Okay, Chris Dunn. So he plays defense. Okay, he's athletic. Is he out of high school? Nah, he went to Notre Dame. Interesting. I'll keep that in mind. All right. Anyways, um, but yeah, I think EJ does their pick. Um, you know, they'll at least have somebody, another bigger body to be in that rotation. When Aaron Gordon needs a breather, maybe they'll slide Aaron Gordon down to the 5 and put Liddell there. So they can do that. Who's up? The Grizzlies? Okay, yeah. Grizzlies are another team that is scary this offseason. They have cap space, right? And they don't really have to bring anybody back of value. Everybody that's like valuable, they can move them. They can even decide to move Steven Adams if they want to, because there's big men available. They can trade for one. Maybe they'll sign and trade Tyus, which I don't know. Tyus played good, but D'Anthony Melton's there. Like they are really good. They are really good depth as well. So like D'Anthony Melton's backup. Then I have like Dylan Brooks here. Backup shooting guard is probably what they're gonna target. Um, maybe they do take Blake Wesley there. They have the bigs of Brandon Clark. You have Jaren Jackson. That's another spot though. that they can fill because Kyle Anderson probably won't be brought back. Zaire Williams played some good minutes though, so I don't know. Um, Team with lots of flexibility, they can really honestly take um, whoever they want. I personally, I personally would go with like another wing. Um, so they could take like Marzan, G League. I would see this is the thing, bro. I wish that they had like current, up to date, um up to date like videos on here. Like college film. Um, but let's see. Patrick Baldwin is an option. If they just say like, yo, we're gonna, you know what? I think that's a great pick here. Actually, I think Patrick Baldwin is a great pick at this spot for them because he's big enough to even play backup four if they need him to. Um, he can shoot the ball. He can play wing. He can play shooting guard if he needs to. So yeah, I'm gonna take Patrick Baldwin there. All right, the Nets. The Nets um, like those like I would say like prodigies in a way. Like Cam Thomas. He had issues in college, opinion based issues in college. Um, but I think that them taking him as a scorer was probably the best thing they could have did, especially with the guys they have as mentors. KD mentor him, Kyrie mentor Cam Thomas. So that was a good pick last year. And they have Kessler Edwards as well. Who stepped in and played decent in the regular season. Joe Harris will be back next year. Ben will slide in. So they have options. I feel like honestly they'll take somebody who they can kind of build with like Cam Thomas, their younger depth, Ben Simmons if they decide to keep him. So here it's a toss up between Marzan and Jaden Hardy. But knowing the Nets, they'll probably take Jaden Hardy. But if it was me, I'm taking Marzan here. All right, next up, the Bucks, the Milwaukee Bucks. Who's a free agent for them? Have no clue. So let's see. You have Ibaka. They didn't play him. They didn't care about Ibaka. That'll free up some cap for them. Ooh, Jordan Orr. That's a solid piece. I think he's gonna be good on the team. Underrated in my opinion. I think he should get more playing time than he does. He played really well when Giannis was out last year. They just drafted Mamu last year. Mamu was one of my favorite players going into the draft last year. Obviously, didn't have Middleton in the playoffs. Grayson Allen's there. Pat Connaughton played well. Brook Lopez played well. So it's like, what are we looking at? Is it a backup small forward? Is it a backup point guard? So I feel like the Bucks will add Ty Washington as their backup point guard. Get rid of George Hill. Or they can bring a backup small forward in. But I just feel like there's no reason for them to not go best available. They're the Bucks, If they were healthy last year, they would still probably be playing right now. So I think they take best available, and that's Ty Washington. All right, the Spurs are up again. 3 first-round picks. So now they were probably wishing that they got him, Ty with that last pick. So now I think that Jaden Hardy is here. They take a higher upside player. Now that they kind of took two kind of players. I'm not gonna say that but like safer. They take like a higher upside guy here. Maybe put him at the point guard position. Now we have the Mavs. Brunson is probably not coming back next year, but Spencer Dinwiddie played played great against the Suns. If he can like keep that up and be consistent, I think that they'll be just fine without Brunson next year. Maybe they'll even like be able to get a sign and trade done for Brunson. If I'm not mistaken, they have cap space. They have no cap space. Yikes! Don't know how. Thought they did. Tim Hardaway got hurt, broke his foot last year. He'll be back. So he'll slide in. Reggie Bullock is playing a good shooter role while Tim Hardaway's out. Tim Hardaway's obviously a better shot creator, you know, and a better shooter outside of the corner than Reggie Bullock. Dorian Finney-Smith, that 3-and-D player. What is he? Because he's like blacked out. Okay, so he signed back. He's good. Maxi Kleber, he's a free agent this year. I don't know why it's not showing that he's a free agent this year, because he is. And then who else? Dwight Powell. I really think they need like a backup big, but at this point in the draft, there really is none. So for me, I feel like defense is kind of needed here. So I'd probably end up taking Blake Wesley here if I was them. Kendall Brown, I watched a little bit of his film, but I didn't see anything to the point where I was like, okay, he's a first rounder. Dang, he's breaking down this film like in frames, bro. Like, look at this. Like, let the play run, bro. Damn. Alright, so basically, forget that. Who's next? Okay, that Miami Heat. Let's see what else they got here. Okay, now I'm gonna get real interesting with this pick. All right, I'm gonna get really interesting with this pick. Duncan Robinson, right? They signed him to a contract, a very expensive contract, and they're not playing him. He's not getting playing time right now, because when you're a shooter and you don't play any defense and you struggle, that's what's gonna happen. You're not gonna play. So they might trade Duncan Robinson this offseason. They have Max Strus who can shoot. Oladipo if they decide to bring him back. Hero still be off the bench. Gabe Vincent played well. So they have like their backup guards. But I feel like Duncan Robinson's gonna be out of there. That's gonna be somebody they kind of need though. I don't know what's going on with their depth chart, bro. Like, why is UD their starter? I don't know what's going on here. But anyways, he's PJ. What is he? PJ has a player option this year. He's gonna opt in. He's gonna come back. So he's gonna still be their big. Year 7 is probably gonna get some more playing time. I think Dedmon. Dedmon's definitely a free agent. Markieff might get playing time, so they could go big here. But I honestly feel like they can trade Duncan Robinson for a backup big, and then they'll slide another shooter in, somebody who's shooting really well right now at the draft combine. That probably up to stock. So yeah, I think that's who the Heat get. The Warriors. Annoying team when it comes to the draft. Like, how do they already have their future, right? How do they already have their future, while still competing with the guys that they won championships with? Like, how did they do that? Wiseman will be back next year. Kuminga's gonna improve. Jordan Poole's gonna improve. Like, this team is gonna be dangerous next year. Gary Payton is a free agent. I don't think they bring him back. So that's kind of something they struggle with. Is like backup guard depth, but I think it's okay to the point where they can suffice and maybe bring in somebody on a vet minimum. So they might bring in like another like upside player to play along like Kuminga, Poole, and Wiseman. In the future, and I think probably the highest upside player at this point in the draft is Wendell Moore. So I think they take him there. Let's see, Trevor Keels. Man, he looked different. What the fuck in that picture? He looked mad different. Can he shoot? He burly, bro. He like a big burly guard. Like, what am I looking at? What is this? Okay, create, pass, finish. Mark Williams, a monster. So what is he like a guard in a way? Another pick and roll. Come off the screen. Okay. So I see what kind of role that he has. Man, Grizzlies have 2 first-round picks. Wow, they can do it this offseason. I'll tell you what, they can really do something. So I took Patrick Baldwin here. I think that they'll still go with some more wing depth. I think here they'll go Kendall Brown though. Just in case Patrick Baldwin isn't ready to play, which he probably. I'm high on Patrick Baldwin, but he's still young. He's only 19, so he might not be ready to play day one. But I feel like down the line he'll improve into like a rotational player. So you kind of have the safer pick there, or what I just chose. The Thunder, up again. They already have two great players on top of what they already have. Like the Thunder are they're gonna be a good team. They're gonna be a good team. Don't be surprised next year if they are in like playing range. Like if not more. Don't be surprised. Do not be surprised if the Thunder sneak their way into that like 9 seed, 8 seed range in the West. You heard it here first. But yeah. They Ty Jerome was good last year for them. Trey Mann was good last year for them in flashes. Like I said, at this point they have their pieces and they can just add another one, right? He's 6'5", he can create his own side, he can create for others. Why not take him? Benedict is there. Like, they really can have a great draft. They can really improve their team. So yeah. Boom. This is my mock draft. For now. Until I hear more about players rising their stock in the combine. We still have the 5v5s to play, So this is just a very early version of the mock draft. Obviously, I'm gonna have a better idea of how teams view these players later on, and concerning things that pop out, So, Jabari Smith went to the Magic, Ted, Paulo, Ivy, Sharp, Keegan Murray, Jalen Duren, Dyson Daniels, Jeremy Sochan, Adrian Griffin Jr. It's top 10. But yeah, I feel like there's gonna be trades in this draft. There's gonna be some movement. Maybe a team tries to move up. Who has flexibility to move up? Maybe the Pacers try to move up. Maybe they try to move up to. Okay, no, they can't move up to the Kings because they already traded with the Kings, so they're not gonna be able to move up. Maybe the Spurs will try to move up a little bit, or maybe I don't know, maybe the Wizards try to move up, maybe the Knicks try to move up, but for sure, the 16th spot, the Hawks, I feel like they're gonna trade this pick. They're gonna package it with somebody, and they're gonna trade that pick. But yeah, this is my first edition of my mock draft. Um, I will be back post draft combine for another mock. But yeah.